Hello, LilyKatchum video. Today we're gonna take a look at another legend team for sure, maybe even a rank 3 in the world team, I'm not too sure, but this player here was able to hit legend with an interesting team with the Giratina, which you're also going to face here from the opponent's side, as well as the Shadow variant of the Sableye. This team is a very interesting team, it's very similar to a team that I like to play in the Open Great League, and so I kinda want to try it out. I think it is definitely a solid team to use. Shadow Sableye is maybe a little bit better this meta, I'm not too sure, but here the opponent was actually able to catch a move on to that Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is a really good Pokemon, by the way, in the current meta. Not too sure if I want to make a video about it, but it's a very, very strong Pokemon. If you want to have something that breaks the core of a Gligar and Poliwrath, Tapu Fini is the Pokemon that you kind of want to run. This thing is quite a good one for the current meta, but still we're going to be able to knock them out with a resisted foul play. In comes the Giratina from the opponent again, as they can go for another foul play, maybe knocking them out as well here. No, we're gonna get the shield, but we can still go for the full farm down before they can knock me out, and with this, it's game over. Giratina's typing is just so awesome against Pokemon like Registeel. Registeel has only resisted moves against it unless it's running Flash Cannon, which is very rare nowadays. But let's take a look at the next opponent here. They swap out a Superior against us, which is quite lovely because our lead has access to Drill Peck, which does super effective damage against them. But also, we can swap out into our own Giratina, which can resist those Frenzy Plants, which is like the main damage source. It also learns, of course, Aerial Ace, which barely does any damage against normal Pokemon anyway because it's non-stab, and still, while Aerial Ace got buffed recently, it's still not a great move. It's just very good on Gligar because Gligar's just busted. Like, honestly, like, this Pokemon just should not have Aerial Ace at all. But it is what it is. You know what's also is what it is? We're going to be able to just knock out nearly that Calming here. But I feel like a few Steel Wings should be enough, but they are very likely going to swap out straight away, and they do into a victory bell. And I decide to stay in for a little bit. Why do I do this? Just to damage them a little bit more. Because like this, I will be able to farm them down with that Shadow Sableye, and if I didn't stay in for a little bit, I would have not been able to do so, and maybe the opponent would have been able to get some acid sprays against me, which would have been a little bit of a trickier one. Like this, we can just go for a foul play. I'm not too sure if this is really needed or not. The opponent has 2 shields left. I thought maybe I can go for another one. I can't, but we can farm them down and win this battle. Let's see what the next opponent has here. The Empoleon mirror match. Both Shadow, both going to go ahead and go for some Steel Wings. Very likely going to be nerfed next season, Steel Wing. Not because of Empoleon. Empoleon is really fine with this move, like it's totally happy with it, but like Skarmory is, I think, a little bit too broken. Kinda curious on how the next meta is going to look like. It's very likely going to be a big change. Hopefully it is, because it really needs to be. But also, next season in general, I'm kinda hyped for this. Like, I know this season is quite a little bit of a snooze fest, even though the Go Fest is just right around the corner, like tomorrow literally. Yeah, but like it's still kinda, I don't know, it is a day. I know, it's a little bit of a weird one right now. Like, I feel like a lot of people are not too excited for PvP because the meta is basically the same for 9 months. So I really hope that Niantic puts in some new moves, like gives us a little bit more of, I don't know, a special treatment in terms of giving a little bit more of a risky moves or whatever. That would be kind of cool, but let's see what this is going to be when the time comes. But anyway, we're going to see here the Gligar against us. We can go for that Shadow Ball with our Giratina, doing quite some solid damage. But sadly, we're going to be already in Aerial Ace range. They're going to go ahead and go for that immediately now as well. And I was hoping that they would not be able to reach a dig against our Empoleon, so we try to go for the full farm down here, but they're already going to go for a charge move, which kind of tells me this should be a dig, and that's a goodbye from us. Next opponent coming through, so many Charmers here. That is going to be quite charming for us, easy for us to, yeah, bait them out there into the Umbreon. But like, look at our backline, look at Umbreon, what are we supposed to do? I am not too sure. We can actually let the move go through here most likely. My goal, oh, actually he said to use a shield. My goal here was kind of to get them a little bit lower. Maybe I can even farm them down with my Sableye. I'm not too sure, but I kind of of course have to keep my Empoleon alive just for that Fairy type Pokemon. But also we have access to Power Gem on our Sableye. So even if they swap out later on into the Ninetales, I think we might still be just fine. Let's see what they're gonna do here. We're gonna see the foul play coming through, and they decide to not swap out yet. I can go for a foul play and knock them out. This should be kind of nice to us because we could align ourselves here very likely. It is going to be the Ninetales. It's going to be Powder Snow. That's quite an interesting one. Issue is, we're going to be locked in with our Empoleon for quite a bit, and it's going to be that Poliwrath in the back, and that's not going to be great. We're forced to go for the Drill Peck, which is going to do super effective damage, as we can swap into our Giratina. We just have to hope that this is not an Icy Wind. Let's call a bait. It's a power-up punch, and the opponent gets completely screwed over with that. Attack Rose, I don't care, I can go for a Shadow Ball, and goodbye to Poliwrath doing absolutely nothing against our Giratina, and with this should be it. Shadow Ball coming through, that's very likely already a KO, and boom, goodbye Ninetales. Let's take a look at what the next opponent is going to have here. It's going to be a matchup that I really don't like. Galvantula is quite a decent core breaker for this team because he's still going to lose against, for them, of course, against our Sableye. They're going to outspeed me. And honestly, I think I was losing... oh, no, never mind. Actually, I was not losing track of the energy here. But the opponent plays it quite an interesting way, I have to say. We're going to use a shield here. Oh, fine, Kana. I kind of want to get as much energy as possible. They're always going for lunch here. And they surprised me because they get to the move here. And I was like, there's no way that this is like a lunge. It wasn't. It's a cross poison. And of course they get the attack boost for whatever reason. But yeah, cross poison actually on Galvantula makes a little bit of sense right now. Quite a lot of fairy type Pokemon around. Discharge is quite decent still though. There are quite a lot of like Man-type and stuff like this, but you should usually still be able to win those matchups just with the Volt Switch alone. So like I guess it's not really needed. But this is going to kind of screw us over here as well. We're going to try to go for the bait. Let's see if this is going to work. It is going to get the shield, and we also get the attack and defense buff, but it's not 2-stage buff anymore, which was back in the day. Luckily, it's not a 2-stage buff anymore because it was way too broken. But now we just have to hope that we can still knock them out here. Stone Edge is resisted, Awkward Tail is resisted, she should be fine. But this is the only Quagsire in the world that's running Awkward Tail and Mud Bomb apparently, and so we're getting completely screwed over here by ridiculous movesets from the opponent, which is quite mad. But yeah, good game to the opponent. Funny movesets here, did not expect any of that, but let's move on to the next opponent here. Another lovely lead for us, and they swap out into the Goodra, which we can outspeed as well now. Drill Play coming through, gonna get very likely a shield here, which we will take as well for the next matchup with the Sableye. Sableye, most likely going to be able to outspeed them as well usually. It's going to be quite a difficult one for the 2-shield scenario, but we will find out if this is going to even happen as I go straight for the charge move here, because it got some extra energy before we have to go straight for it, and we knock them out, which is kind of fine for us. They go into their Ninetales, and they are going to charm me down, but they're still locked into the matchup, and so our Empoleon takes advantage of that Ninetales. We can let the move go through. It's a double resisted Weather Ball very likely here, which is barely doing any damage. And in the back, it's going to be the Poliwrath, of course, counter resisted on our Ghost type later on. But they even let the move go through, which means we have them in the Shadow Claw down range, and this is going to be a good game. Carbing in the lead, honestly, like, I guess I was just insanely lucky. Like, how many fairy-type Pokemon have we faced in the lead now? Like, it's quite mad. That is definitely, I think it's like 3 or 4 in a row now, which is quite ridiculous. That was, like, not intentional, like, put together like this, but that is quite mad. As Darkwood's coming through here against our Sableye, you might think, oh, where did you swap into the Sableye? I was thinking the same, I have no idea really. I should have maybe stayed in a little bit longer with my lead matchup, but it is what it is. I thought this would do a little bit more damage, and also, I maybe make a little bit of a mistake here. I maybe should have, never mind. Okay, I actually didn't even, like I made a mistake by swapping out into my Sableye. That's definitely a mistake at this point. But at least I can realign, that's lovely, isn't it? It's not really, because we can still try to go for the rock type move of Power Gem here, but yeah, like, honestly, it is not going to look too good for us. We can still swap out here, and it's going to be the Toxic Rock. If we would have been a few seasons back, this would have been a lovely matchup, even though Giratina wasn't released at that point. But nowadays, sadly, the Toxic Rock has a new move that it is going to be a great coverage here for Ghost-type Pokemon, the Shadow Ball, and so that's going to be a good game. Empoleon Mirror. This time around, no fairy-type Pokemon. This time around, Empoleon in the lead, and we can swap out into our Sableye. And the opponent makes a crazy mistake here by not going straight for the charge move. Why is such a mistake? Because now we can see MP-tie the entire time against the opponent, which is going to be quite a lovely, but they swap out into the Ninetales. We can still get off that ginormous Power Gem, super effective damage, and I should have waited out longer here. I should have just waited out longer here. This was a huge mistake by not waiting out the time, because what we're going to see here now is the opponent has a ton of energy. I'm going to use a shield first, but if I wait out the time, I would have been able to swap out already. But like this, I'm forced to go for a charge move and cannot catch a Hydro Cannon. But they decided to use a shield here, and I was like, they're very likely going to be weak against me in the back with that, right? But I decided to let the move go through, swap out into my Giratina. Use a shield here very likely on a potential drill pack because I was like, yeah, shadow damage, ghost damage is going to be quite nice against anything. And it is quite nice against anything, but Gligar might be a little bit of an issue. Shadow Gligar still takes a ton of damage from the Shadow Ball, but I would have rather had some Hydro Cannon damage against them. But they went straight for a charge move here. It's going to be a dick, knocking me out. They should be energy dry, and with that we can farm them down and win this battle. Empoleon is energy dry, Hydro Cannon. Wait, that's a CMP tie, luckily going to knock them out, I guess, and we can move on to the next opponent. After a little bit of a break here, apparently. Next one, well, let's find out. We're going to have a Quagsire. Quagsire is going to be a very neutral matchup because they do super effective fast move damage, but resisted damage usually, unless they're running Mud Bomb or Earthquake against us. And so we swap out into our Sableye, which is going to take that awkward tail quite well. Foul Play coming through, going to do a ton of damage if it's going to connect, but let's find out if it's going to connect. It is not going to connect. And so we are maybe using a shield here. We are not, we're gonna let the move go through. And we're gonna go into our Giratina now, hoping for the best. I don't know if this was the right call. I think I should have maybe tried to get the final shield from the opponent first, but they're having Mud Bomb as well? What are people doing nowadays? I'm not too sure, but we can catch at least a move here onto our Empoleon from that Mantine, which is quite lovely. We will see the area is coming through. Going to be resisted damage coming in here from the opponent, as they might try to go for an awkward tail and say a Water Pulse now. Exactly, Water Pulse is coming through. Drill Peck coming through. We should be in a very solid spot here still, as we're gonna be able to go for the Drill Peck, get them kinda low. And I should not be able to survive this one, but that's fine because we know already there's a Quagsire lurking in the back, which I don't really want to be up against, but we can go for the full farm down here. They swap out into that Quaggy. Quaggy will not be happy with that Shadow Ball nuking them away. We still have a ton of energy. It's going to be a 90. Now I have to make a call. I decide to go straight for the Shadow Ball, expecting the opponent to use a shield. Not use a shield, of course, but it didn't work out, and so sadly we're going to lose this battle. Fairly certain if I went for the bait, I would have had definitely a decent shot of winning this one, but like at the end of the day, it's a 50-50 call. If the opponent uses a shield or not, I was kind of trying to be a little bit ballsy and go straight for the nuke move. Didn't work out for me, but it's fine. Anyway, we're going to have Sableye against our Empoleon. Empoleon generates 7 energy per like fast move usage. So if you use 6 of them, it's like 62, right? And I feel like maybe you can, I think you can only get the 5 turn after like 4 charge moves from Empoleon. So I think like actually Sableye should be able to outspeed you to the 3rd charge move, but I'm not too sure about it. Anyway, Power Gem coming through here. We will see that this is going to do some nice damage against them, but at the end of the day, like we're gonna have to farm them down anyway with the Empoleon. Empoleon still has enough health to survive a Moonblast, but it's still not going to be a beautiful matchup here, which we're gonna see as well. Like we're gonna most likely end up in the deep red health. Moonblast coming through, exactly. And we can still at least go for the full farm and get some nice energy as the opponent swaps out into the Sableye. Gonna keep the energy on my Empoleon and knock them out with my Giratina. And I make a little bit of a ballsy call here again, going straight for the Shadow Ball, expecting them to call the bait, which does again not work out. But luckily, we are going to be able to apparently win the CMP tie here against the opponent. And the ominous wind is going to be enough, and we can move on to the final battle of today. Dressed and Elite is going to be a matchup that I don't really like, but it's going to be fine. Clotseye coming in now, we're going to go for a foul play against them. That is going to be okay for us as well. This is going to be a matchup that is quite neutral. You might think, oh, Poison type against a Ghost type Pokemon, that would be a great matchup for the Ghost type because we resist the Poison type damage, but the opponent does not do Poison type damage, has Mudshot as well as Earthquake and most likely Stone Edge, and so that is not going to be ideal for our Sableye, but we're gonna get the shield here, which is quite nice, and I think I might even be able to outspeed them later on, but we have to find out about that eventually, as we are going to be able to go for another foul play here. This is going to be definitely a knockout in theory, but it isn't here, and so they're gonna go for a charge move against our Giratina, which we swapped into it. It's going to be a Stone Edge, and we can try to get some extra energy as they go into their Gligar, try to CMP tie against them, which does not work out as the opponent is going to try to overfarm very likely up to 2 aerial aces as they put me into range for that. And also, of course, now we're gonna be in a spot where I kind of have to sacrifice something, either my Empoleon or my Sableye. And I was thinking Empoleon is most likely more of a Pokemon that I can sacrifice, because I know that my Sableye should be fine against both of the Pokemon on the back, and so I forgot that I would survive this one. And that's kind of annoying, because now I'm gonna be able to go for a Drill Peck, but Yeah, I can swap out of here, I can still reach the foul play, but they were able to catch the move, and without the catch I would have been able to win the battle. But like this, great play by the opponent, good game there, this can be it for this video. Actually, I think all the losses here would have been avoidable if I played it better, or if I were a little bit luckier, so definitely a very good team here. Feel free to leave a like on the video as well, check out the video on the screen, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.